Good morning, everybody. This is the Pranic Process Online, and today I would like to have a video with no topic. And in this video with no topic, I'd like to talk about nothing. I've always wanted to start a video like this. Would be fun, of course, but it would be scary to some. So yeah, I'm joking. Actually, the topic of today is the power of silence. It is quite related to what I've said before, but it's also way deeper than this. So we are still waiting for people to gather around, and we're in the meantime inviting you to center in your heart. Make sure that your heart is all fueled with this energy of universal love. The power of silence has been something all saints and sages have been observing and taking advantage of. We all hear about those who have retreated in caves or in the mountains or in places that are very secluded, right? And to tell you the truth, this has been my impulse for many years now, and I'm still contemplating it. And more, I'm withdrawing in the sense of living further and further away from civilization. Because, to my view, what we now call civilization is very far from a civilized world and a civilized species. That's just another topic. The power of silence, however, brings many gifts in your life when you take it on. And this is recommended and has been practiced by one of the ascended masters that is overletting this course, Saint Francis of Assisi. This is an 8-day webinar that we are having here, and this is the 7th day, and each webinar is overlit or held in the power of or in the guidance of one ascended master. Today, Saint Francis of Assisi is the one that is recommending this topic or overletting this topic, because that has been his practice for a lifetime. It's a saint that lived in the vicinity of Assisi, Italy, and has practiced silence and silence in nature for his whole life. He, at an early youth age, has withdrawn from civilization in a secluded place in nature and has prayed and meditated there for many years, and has been in such deep communion with nature and animals that he has started to understand the language of animals. And that's how he got fed from time to time, except from source feeding. He was just from time to time receiving some nourishment from the animals that were going and bringing him food. So because he has such a deep communion with animals, and to understand the language of other species and the feeling of other species is indeed a powerful step in your spiritual evolution. There are species on this planet and in dominant numbers that aren't speaking our language, right? And so it's difficult to understand and encompass their wisdom if you're not tuned to them in a different way than the normal communication that we're used to. So difficult to understand what they're going through, difficult to understand what they want, and so difficult to get messages from them if you're not tuned to your intuition. So the power of silence does this. And I'm giving a recent example. Yesterday I was at a vet clinic in Bucharest, to take care of a dear friend of mine. And I had to wait there for several hours due to an operation that was being made on another pet. While I was waiting, I saw so many pets coming in with illnesses, right? With their caregivers. I don't say their owners because we actually don't own the pets. They sometimes own us. But I was there and they were coming with their caregivers, and so many of them had very specific issues like thyroid issues, getting too fat, or um, liver issues, and so on. Energetically, when I looked at their caregivers, they were having the same issues, or they were having issues that was triggering this in their pet. So very interesting to notice when you perceive the language or the energy emanation of animals, when you sit in silence and just listen to their heart that is tuned into your heart, you can get so much wisdom and so much data from them. So that's the first thing to state, that whenever you're out in nature or in the presence of species that are not talking the way you would talk with through the mouth, I mean with words, what you can do is tune heart to them, and understand the language through your heart. It's a good technique to tune into other species, either from Earth or from other realms of existence, because nowadays we're being visited more and more by species that are not living on Earth, and of course they're not speaking our language. So it's very good to know this practice when you're in the presence of an unspeaking species of all kinds, right? So that I can understand, or encompass, better to say, encompass their language and their message. So the pets were basically sending messages requiring help, or requiring that their masters would heal themselves so that the pet can heal, right? Because when your pet is not well, or when you're the caregiver of an animal that is unwell, the animal is usually taking on the issues that you have, or is developing issues related to yours in some way. So it's very, very good to be able to look at that and always analyze, try to encompass what's the message in the illness or the unwellness of the animal that you are taking care of. Because when you learn that, you then can offer healing, or can shift something inside of you so that your pet can heal, right? In my case, it was about me wanting to leave for the Pranic Festival in India. I was contemplating this in January and February, and I wanted to go there. And I was worried because I didn't know who would take care of the pet that I'm taking care of. So I was starting to get worried about him. And as he got these telepathic messages of me not knowing what to do with him, he misunderstood that he's not welcome anymore, and he's not wanted, or he's not beneficial. He should disappear because I don't know what to do. So the message of I don't know what to do with him was being perceived as he's not useful, he's not welcomed anymore. So he developed an illness, not severe, but important, that took a few months for me to figure out, because I wasn't being too emotionally involved. I wasn't able to perceive this until I went to the fifth doctor's visit, and there we were able to figure it out. To send to your pet the message that he is wanted and loved and welcomed, and the joy in your life, and always good to have, and so on and so forth, is essential for their health and well-being. Also, taking care of your health is essential for the health and well-being of your pet, and whatever is happening in your body and your life is somewhat taken on by the pets in your house, and it's good to make sure that you always cure and curate your own stuff so that your pets can be happy. Once I've taken full responsibility and awareness for my emanation, although it wasn't ill-intended and it wasn't really destined to push him away, I was just looking for a caregiver. I was able to deprogram that or re-pattern that think, but only when my mind was completely silent and finally surrendering, because I wasn't finding any solutions. I was able to perceive it correctly, and I believe this is how Saint Francis of Assisi and many others have been able to perceive the language of animals. However, it's much easier for me to perceive it in the presence of pets that I'm not emotionally attached to, because then, you know, nothing is overriding the clarity of the message. If I'm rested and well, I am really happy to be able to convey this possibility to you, because we live on a planet where we're not a majority, we're a minority in terms of species. And if you look at this map of all species of the planet, I don't remember what's called now, but if you look at it, you'll notice that we're a teeny weeny itsy bitsy dot in the mapping of all species of the planet. We're just one little speck there, and there's thousands and thousands and thousands of species, you know, on the planet that are probably more fine-tuned, smarter, more aligned than us. I'm talking about the ones that we're able to see, because if we are to refer to the ones that we're not able to see, that are in the invisible mode, it's far wider as a majority. But talking about the animals and insects and fish realm and, you know, dolphins and whales and all that, I would say that would be really powerful for us to be able to understand their language and to be aware of our minority and aware of the respect that we should offer to all these other species that we share space with, because basically they're our neighbors on this planet. They're not something that we are to use or abuse the way people do now. They're not something we should take advantage of just because we have more strength and more gadget and devices with which we can trap them and kill them. That's not the way we should collaborate with these species, right? Even though it hasn't been intended as a veganism workshop, this one, when we talk about the power of silence and the power of understanding the language of other species, this can't be overwritten, because this is really the first step to civilization. To collaborate and cohabitate with other species in respect and harmony is the first path to the first step to civilization. And this is what we were meaning when we said that, to me, humanity is far from being civilized right now. So in terms of how we can adjust this, the first step would be to open up to understand their language and messages, and to look at the other species on the planet through our heart. And this is only possible for most of us when we are in silence. This is just something that doesn't happen when your mind is busy, when you're always running and chasing for goals and all sorts of purposes and all sorts of achievements, right? This is possible when you are silent and focused. And we were also looking at how we can tune into the planetary rhythms, right, in silence, because the planetary rhythms are dictated by a huge cosmic dance, and all that is on this planet has its own rhythm, its own pace, and, if you will, its own music that can be felt, perceived when in harmony and when in silence. Would be fantastic for us to tune into these rhythms and start to act in a harmonious, rhythmical way, in a synchronized way, where we synchronize with the whole creation on this planet, not doing things too soon or too late, doing things in harmony and on time. Timing is important, even though time does not exist. Timing is a different thing, is the following of a certain rhythm. Is important because when something is done at the right time and place, it falls into place with all the other pieces of an orchestra that is bigger and more complex that we would encompass with our mind. And postponing things or moving things around according to our own moods and wants is sometimes detrimental to our ability of being in harmony, because when you miss out on something due to not timing it correctly, you then destabilize a way bigger orchestra, a way bigger rhythm than you would be aware of. There's a cosmic rhythm and also an earthly rhythm of what needs to be done, of what encounters need to be made, of what actions need to be taken, that are linked to all the other people and places and sacred sites that were connected, that are meant to be done at a certain rhythm. And when in harmony, when in silence, when well centered, you can perceive this rhythm and tune into it and act in harmony with it, which is really, really crucial now. I highly recommend to people, always in these webinars, to be able to take at least half a day of silence in their lives. I would say at least one day, but I know people are scared of putting away their gadgets for fear that the world would stop if you wouldn't be connected. However, if you are connecting in a different way, through this heart connection, to this fine-tunement that I was explaining before, you could, in a much better way, learn about the news that you're afraid to miss, and you could in much better way communicate the news that you would want to tell, just because when in harmony, everything is perceived. Like I said, you can perceive the messages of animals, you can perceive the messages of other species, and you also, of course, can perceive the message of the universe as a whole. And when you are in that state, you can actually as well have a much better connection to all that is. So how many of you here are perceiving these rhythms already? How many of you have had the opportunity to go deeper inside yourselves and notice how everything falls into place when in that state of harmony? How many of you have encountered people and places where you feel naturally connected with, and instantly in sync with. And there's no need for words, because already in silence you're communicating very deeply to those places or people. I've had people always communicating with me in our dream time or in our meditation time, whenever we were in the alpha theta state, because that's what the meditation and dream time are. They are the alpha theta state. So whenever in that state, we would always have some form of contact and communication. And some of them were surprised because maybe they weren't used to it. I, however, am very familiarized, because for many, many years now I've been in contact with many beings from this or other realms naturally. And this happens with or without my aiming or awareness, which means sometimes you might end up talking to me without me intending it at a conscious level. So I'm not projecting an image or an extension of myself consciously into your environment to talk to you, yet some people are reporting the next day that they have met and talked with me in some image of my spirit. So basically these things are possible, and these things are happening with all of us in the astral realm. The degree to which we're conscious of it can vary and differ from one person to another. But in silence, you can perceive it all, you can be aware of it all, and you can syntonize of it all if necessary. So this is another gift, being able to commune with your dear ones that are on earth or off earth, including the ones that have departed, right? When in silence, you can perceive their messages. So you can perceive when someone is thinking of you, when someone is having certain unclarities or concerns about you. You can perceive when something or someone is joyful about you. You can perceive the messages of other beings without direct verbal communication, because telepathic communication is starting to be present. So we invite you all to stay open to this possibility. As well, we invite you all to tune into this class if you are ready to learn more on these topics and learn the techniques and practices to develop your intuition and your connection in a much more aligned way. We are now ending the live video on Facebook and Instagram, because we're only being there for half an hour usually, and you are free to join the full class. The link is in bio to join the full class of this. Either in bio or in the comments, you find the link for the Pranic Process Online. This is how it's called. You can join one webinar or the whole 8 webinars. The good news is, the good news is that we have been called to do it again this month on the 22nd of April. Normally we don't do it every month, and we surely don't do it twice a month, because it's just not the rhythm that we were used with before. But this year specifically, we've been called to do it for both Easters, the Catholic Easter and the Orthodox Easter. So for the Catholic Easter, we've started right on Easter, one day before it. And for the Orthodox Easter, we're starting it on the April 22nd, just to prepare the field as we're ending it the Thursday or Friday before Easter. So you can book the place to that one and have the advantage of having the full 8 days live with us. And of course, if you don't attend the whole live sessions, all 8 days, you'll have the recordings of them. So that's also possible. The link is in bio for that if you're on Instagram, and it's also in comments if you're on Facebook. So you can tune in and decide whether to join this series or the series on April 22nd. And also on Easter, starting Friday of the Easter, Orthodox Easter, we're starting a Pranic Easter retreat here in the mountains of Romania. So, as you know, I'm living in a beautiful area in the mountains, and always when important things are happening at the planetary level, we have a retreat here. The places are not many due to this global situation. We do now more secluded, more private retreats. So make sure you book your place now. I'm gonna, if you send me a message, I'm gonna tell you all the prerequisite or what's necessary for you to do, and what's the energy exchange for this Easter retreat starting on the 23rd of April. Until then, much love, big hugs, see you soon whenever that is, and make sure you join us for this fabulous new Pranic Process Online. Thank you for being here.